right? So we're going to solve all the solutions between 0 and 2 pi. You know, we've got a mix of trig functions, but do we have substitutions for sine and cosine? Sine to the first and cosine to the first? No, we have them for what? Squared, right? So how can we introduce some squares here so that we can substitute? Yeah, square both sides, right? At that point, square both sides, and then we will have a sine squared on this side. When a cosine x plus 1 squared will give us some middle terms. That's okay. That will just be a very clean sine squared, and we can substitute 1 minus cosine squared. And then it's all cosine, right? So that in a way is like using that part of the guidelines, which we didn't use last class. We will go like this. Squared and squared, right? That's a FOIL. Cosine squared x plus 2 cosine x plus 1 equals sine squared x. And again, now we can substitute for sine squared, right? It is 1 minus, you know, if you're not quite sure if it's 1 minus or cosine squared minus 1, go back to the identity, but it's 1 minus. So now we've got cosine squared x plus, oops, my pen has got to catch up. There we go. It's not half bad, but plus 2 cosine x plus 1 equals 1 minus cosine squared x. All right, so this will be a quadratic. We need to get everything on one side, 0 on the other. When I do that, if I subtract 1 from both sides, they're going to cancel, right? Which is good. And if I add cosine squared x to both sides, right, then I've got 2 of them. So now I've got 2 cosine squared x plus 2 cosine x equals 0. And because we don't have a constant term, actually, it won't be that long process. Just what's the greatest common factor between these two? 2 cosine x, right? So I'll go over here, hopefully avoid going to another page. 2 cosine x times cosine x plus 1. Right? And we factor so we can use zero product property. That tells us that either 2 cosine x equals 0 or cosine x plus 1 equals 0. And if cosine x equals 0, then where are we? In between 0 and 2 pi, where are we if cosine x equals 0? Pi over 2, 3 pi over 2. 2 answers. X equals pi over 2 plus 3 pi over 2. And remember, we don't need the plus n pi because it just said in between 0 and 2 pi. We just need those two. Right. This one will be cosine x equals -1. Where does cosine equal -1? Pi. Just once. So there's your answers. That is a messy. That should just be a comma. Okay. So again, square both sides. Good strategy.